The Ohio State Buckeyes beat the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to capture the 2024 National Championship. That's right. The Ohio State Buckeyes are the best team of the 2024 season, less than 2 months after the fact that many, admittedly myself included, were kind of writing them off as a team that wouldn't win it all. And many were speculating whether Ryan Day would even have a job in 2025, though that I thankfully did not do. But Ohio State right now, they wear the crown. They are the king on the hill. What Michigan was last year, what Georgia was for the 2 years prior to that, what Alabama was in 2020, what LSU was in 2019, and go all the way back, turn all those pages, what Ohio State was in 2014 and 2002, and any of the titles they won under Woody Hayes, they are, for this season, they're the best team in the country in terms of strength of record, in terms of power ratings. Not every national champion can even say that, but this team can. They're the number one team of 2024, and they won it all. They covered the spread. The spread was Ohio State minus 8.5. It got a little bit shaky, a little bit too close for comfort. Notre Dame, made it a game. It wasn't a blowout, but it doesn't need to be, because all that matters is that Ohio State won the national championship and achieved at least one of their goals, the most important goal being the best team in the country. And they achieved that, and then some, winning against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish by a score of 34-23, winning by double digits. Before I give you a breakdown of this game, tell you some, strengths and weaknesses of teams that I observed, some interesting things, how Notre Dame was able to muster the comeback that they almost pulled off, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to click the notification bell as well so that you can get notified when we release content on, I would say, a daily basis is what we'll try and do. Can't make any promises, though, with my university schedule. And also, when we go live, this I can promise, we are going to go live from here on out every Monday and every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And if I do have time, I will occasionally go live more than twice a week. And the only way you're going to get notified, especially with that day, is hitting the bell. The other times, Mondays and Wednesdays, will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This coming Wednesday, we're going to do our first round of 2025 preseason content. Very excited to share that with you guys and my early thoughts on the 2025 season. The regular season, ended several weeks ago. The postseason just ended tonight at the time of this recording, which means the 2025 preseason has already begun. Also, if you want to support the channel, make sure to check out the links in the description and pinned comment where you can sign up on my Patreon page to pay monthly to support the work that I do here, and also the merchandise store where you can get a nice College Football with Sam hoodie and even an Ohio State-themed College Football with Sam t-shirt if you want to celebrate our brand and your football team who just won it all. Or if you're a fan of any other Big Ten school, you can find a t-shirt in your colors. Just check out those links and also join our Discord server via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. And finally, comment your reaction to this game, whether you're an Ohio State fan, Notre Dame fan, college football fan. I want to know what you think down in the comment section below. What hit me hard when the game kicked off was that Notre Dame's first drive was very methodical, and it was exactly what they needed to do to win the game. They went on an 18-play, 75-yard, 9-minute, 45-second drive, which ended in a Riley Leonard 1-yard rushing touchdown. On that drive, they converted 2 fourth downs, 2 third downs. They milked the clock. Riley Leonard had like 9 carries, all of them up the middle. And Notre Dame, look, their O-line was beating Ohio State's D-line that drive. They won in pass protection. They won in run blocking, especially on the interior, the outside. Notre Dame really never had success on the outside for the whole game outside of maybe one play for an 8-yard gain. But we knew that coming in. Ohio State does a very good job at limiting explosives, even a better job in the run than in the pass at limiting explosives. And Notre Dame's strength is explosive outside runs. I mean, they almost never ran up the middle the whole game with their backs. Only Riley Leonard really ran up the middle, and that's really where they had their success. That's what stuck out to me on the first drive of the game, which Notre Dame took, was that was a good drive. And Denbrock called a good game overall, I think. More importantly, a good first series. But I questioned after that, how sustainable is that going to be? And if it's not very sustainable, then Notre Dame's defense is going to have to put up quite the effort and probably get Notre Dame the ball back quickly so that they can build a lead here. And then when Leonard can't run up the middle and Notre Dame has to punt, they're not, giving away the lead. Well, that's kind of what happened. Ohio State went on their own long drive, 11 plays, 75 yards, 6 minutes, 5 seconds of clock, just got chewed up, and Jeremiah Smith had an 8-yard receiving touchdown on a beautifully called pass out of the backfield by Chip Kelly. Called that play. Will Howard executed it. And Jeremiah Smith lost his man. I mean, they were just using motion to score play after play after play to convert third down after third down. You know what Ohio State's third down conversion rate was? 9 of 12. They converted 75% of their third downs. They didn't even need to go for it. They did. They didn't even need to go for it on fourth down. That one down that I nearly just called a fourth down was a third and inches, 3rd and 1, which Will Howard used to, had a QB sneak play that he executed wonderfully. I never understood at times why Ohio State wouldn't run that. Why would you not run a QB sneak on 4th and 1 with Howard or 3rd and 1? You'll always pick it up because he's big and because the O-line for, the fact that it's not great is not terrible. Like the center isn't going to drop the ball and he isn't weak. I mean, nothing about Ohio State is weak. Nothing about Ohio State is soft. And it hasn't been. I mean, the only Ohio State team that I think one could consider soft, in quotes, because I don't think any team is really soft, the only one who could be considered not physical, let's use that instead, would maybe be the 2021 Ohio State team, where they were just kind of the definition of finesse. They didn't really power run all that well. Their defense wasn't good, and they just beat you by kind of outlasting you with their skill position players. But every other Ohio State team under Day has been ultimately physical, and this team certainly is very physical, and the O-line did a good job tonight. I mean, all day, all game, they were running the ball up the middle quite well. They had 41 carries for 214 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. They had a long of 70. Now, outside of that 70-yard run, they only averaged 3.1 yards per carry. So, again, skill position talent for Ohio State was the real difference in the football game. They had elite wide receivers. They had a really good QB in Will Howard, who is elite by this year's standard. I don't care what anyone says. In terms of QBR, he's the number 1 QB in the country to end the year. In terms of actuality, I would only say he's behind Cam Ward. Like, he finished the year in my mind as the second best QB. Basically was flawless in the college football playoff outside of a few series against Texas. Wonderful. Had over a 200 passer rating in this game. But Ohio State was able to consistently run the ball enough, in part because their interior O-line and their running backs, to keep Notre Dame's defense honest. Notre Dame looked uncomfortable in zone. They were a little bit disheveled in man. And that's what led to the 21-7 halftime score. Judkins had multiple rushing touchdowns and just overall had a really good game. He had a receiving touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Henderson, I thought, did well. Everyone for Ohio State on offense really did a good job, particularly Howard. Jeremiah Smith had that catch to end the game, but we'll get there. After halftime, Ohio State marches down the field again. That's where the 70-yard run happens. They punch it in, make it 28-7. Notre Dame is one of the most inept moments I've ever seen on special teams, where they run an obvious fake punt that doesn't work, mainly because of a drop, but still it was a hard catch to make. And as a result, Ohio State doesn't get a touchdown there, but they do kick a field goal to make it 31-7. Notre Dame then marches down the field. They get a flukish pass that is a slant, but the slant goes for 34 yards because Jermaine Matthews Jr. missed 2 tackles. and because Notre Dame's wide receivers did a good job blocking downfield. Notre Dame then gets the 2-point conversion on a shovel pass. It's 31-15. Then Ohio State's marching down the field. They run an end around, and Ibuka fumbles it. And Notre Dame then starts their own drive where they get inside the Ohio State 10, but they don't convert, and they go to make a field goal attempt, and they shank the field goal attempt. Now, at the time, I thought it almost made sense to kick that field goal. And maybe that was just totally wrong of me, but I thought to myself, it's a 16-point game. Your defense finally got to stop. You're not converting the 4th and 9. It's just not happening against this defense 9 yards away from the end zone. Kick the field goal. Make it a 13-point game. And that way, if you get 2 touchdowns, what happens is you win. You don't have to go for 2 at all. They shank it. And I think in hindsight, that statement of mine was probably incorrect. You probably go for it there no matter what. But then after that, Ohio State has to punt again after converting 1 first down. Notre Dame drives down the field pretty quickly. Jaden Greathouse makes a phenomenal catch in the end zone where he had pass interference called on him. Didn't matter, though. It was a touchdown. And then Notre Dame ran the Philly special, sort of, and they converted the 2-point conversion to make it 31-23. At that point, it's very late in the fourth quarter, but it's a game because it's a 1-score game. Notre Dame only needs a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, which they've replicated twice to tie it up. And at that point, they have all the momentum. Well, Ohio State, they win by passing to Jeremiah Smith on a 3rd and long in man coverage. At the end of the day, Ohio State was just better. Their wide receivers were better than Notre Dame's secondary. That's why they won in man coverage. That's why they won in zone. At the end of the day, Ohio State was better in terms of play calling. They were the better overall team in terms of depth, in terms of talent. And look, I think they had the better defensive coordinator. I think that Jim Knowles, at the end of the day, called a better game than Al Golden did, to be frank. So Ohio State deserves praise. I mean, this was a 4-0 run in the college football playoff where they beat Notre Dame 34-23 to end it all. They beat Texas 28-14 the prior game in the Cotton Bowl. They beat Oregon 41-21 in the Rose Bowl. One point it was 34-0. And they beat Tennessee 42-17. At one point in the game, that was 21-0. In an alternate universe, it's 28-0 at some point in that game. It's crazy. This team is Ryan Day's best coaching job in a nutshell. That's what this team is. This offensive line is not the caliber of the 2019, 2020, or 2022 offensive lines. It might be worse now than it was in 2021 or 2023 at the end of those years, just because of the injuries. They faced a lot of adversity there. Will Howard is not an NFL QB like CJ Stroud. Probably not. Although he has made some NFL throws in this game against Texas in the Cotton Bowl. I think Will Howard's a wonderful man. I also think that he does have an NFL future after the playoff run that he's made. And Ohio State also on defense has faced adversity too. Those corners were the reason why Ohio State gave up the points they did and why Notre Dame made it a game. Those corners are a liability. People laughed at me and they laughed at a Texas friend of mine for saying that in our Texas preview, but the Texas game and this game have proven that. The Oregon game proved it the first time around. The corners are a liability. You throw it anywhere in Igbenogsen's way, he just shoves you down. Doesn't actually play defense. He just plays tackle football all the time. Denzel Burke doesn't know how to turn around and bat the ball down or make a pick on the ball when he's covering one-on-one. He just doesn't. He just commits pass interference every time it's a potential contested catch. And yet the defense is the best in the nation. Like, it's them in Texas for the best defense in the country. And in terms of offense, I think it's pretty clear that it's Miami and it's Ohio State. I mean, let me look at ESPN's efficiency metrics here live as we're doing this. I mean, Ohio State finished the year number 1 in FPI. This was before the result of the game even. In terms of efficiency, number 2 offense behind Miami, Florida, who was number 1 by quite a good margin, but still number 2 offense. Number 3 efficiency in defense. And these efficiency metrics are before the semifinals. I don't know why they didn't update them, but they're before the semifinals. Ohio State finished the year close and neck with Texas for defense, neck and neck with Miami for offense. They're the best team in the country, easily. And I think that a lot of that has to do, people always talk about talent. They talk about blue chip ratio. They talk about stars. They talk about all these different things. And yes, they have a lot to do with it. They do. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's recruiting, if that doesn't happen and Jeremiah Smith goes to Miami, Ohio State may not have even made the playoffs this year. They may have lost to Nebraska or lost to Penn State in addition to Oregon and Michigan. Maybe they don't even make the playoffs, and maybe Day is actually on the hot seat. So that's a part of it. But another side of it is the fact that Ohio State was able to completely change their offensive scheme in reaction to the injuries in the O-line, and they were able to largely change their defensive scheme in reaction to the Oregon game. And they improved instead of having like a massive hiccup period. Like they adapted like that. That's coaching. That's discipline. That's players trusting in their head coach. It's employees trusting their CEO. So that's what I'm getting at here. This is the best team in the country. I think this was also the most well-coached team in the country to end the season off. I mean, Ohio State, they were the better team on the ground in this game. They had the better rush defense in this game. Their defense, even with the sort of defensive collapse at the end, was the more fundamentally sound defense. I mean, Ohio State missed some tackles on those final series, particularly the first touchdown and 2-point conversion that Notre Dame ran. But Notre Dame, don't act like they weren't missing tackles, whether it was on a bunch of runs or whether it was on some passing attempts. Ohio State was constantly getting yards after contact against Notre Dame's defensive players. They were the better team. Ohio State was. It's really, really that simple. And if not for Ibuka fumbling or for some other instances that happened in the game, this may have ended up as a 38 or 45 to 15 score. So what a job by Ryan Day. I think that big picture, you look at this game and you say, for Notre Dame entering next year, we are very young. We're going to mature. We're probably going to upgrade at quarterback in terms of passing the football. We're probably going to upgrade at wide receiver. Mike Denbrock loves it here. Al Golden loves it here. We have one of the best staffs in America. Why be discouraged? We already overachieved. Notre Dame was not supposed to be 14-2 next year, especially after losing to NIU. And yet they were. They were. And they got down early to Ohio State, but they almost came back. There was a world where they came back. There was a world where maybe they get going on offense a bit earlier, and maybe they end up winning it. Who knows? I mean, Ohio State was clearly the better team, but part of that, you got to think if you're Notre Dame, is the fact that Ohio State's a lot older than you. And they're not as banged up as you are, despite the fact that they are also banged up and facing adversity. That's the Notre Dame side. For the Ohio State side, you've won it all. Your coach is one of the best in the country. The only person who's definitively ahead of him is Kirby Smart. And Day might be better than Kirby Smart. I mean, think about it this way. If a field goal is made in 2022, Day is better than Smart. Definitively, in terms of at least career achievements. He has more natties, more titles. So I think that in the future for Ohio State, right now you're the number 1 program in the Big Ten. And you have successfully, after a very wonky and disappointing, and I would say failed regular season, what you've done is you are bobbing at the top of the Big Ten lake and everyone else is below you. And that was going to be the best case scenario after the regular season. After not winning the Big Ten, losing to Oregon in the regular season, losing to Michigan, there was going to be no way that entering 2025, they were going to be the number 1 program by a mile. Because they lost to 2 conference foes, one of whom is long-term going to be up there with resources, coaching, and development in terms of Oregon and Dan Lanning, and the other one's your longtime rival, who is probably going to have their worst year or had their worst year for quite some time in the future. Michigan's going to be better entering 2025 and 2026, and probably from there on out, assuming they keep recruiting at the level they have for their 2025 class and that Underwood's good, than they were because of some things that happened. You know, the staff leaving in response to largely, I think, the cheating scandal, and then also all their starters leaving, much like this Ohio State team, because they were old and they retained a lot of good players and they wanted to make that title run. And that has to be the beauty of it if you're Ohio State. At the end of the year, wasn't exactly how you wanted it to go, but at the same time it was, because you won it all. And winning it all is more impressive and more precious than winning the Big Ten, or than winning Michigan, or than making Dan Lanning look like an idiot by beating him at his home with Jaden Fielding kicking the game-winning field goal. It's so much better and more satisfying to win it all than to do those things. So for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, I think their outlook in 2025 is wonderful. I think they're going to be a preseason top 5 team. I think Ohio State also very likely will be a preseason top 5 team, and their outlook is wonderful because they've won it all. And barring Ryan Day and his entire staff leaving for different jobs and a mass portal exodus, well, they're going to be talented again next year. Julian Sayin will be good. Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith, their most talented players, are back. So even though a lot of experience is being lost, and yeah, they probably won't be as good next year as they are this year, well, they're returning 2 alien players. And that's wonderful. That's awesome. And they're only going to get better from here on out, those alien players will. And next season, you get a test early in the year in Texas at home to see where you're at. And then after that, your schedule's pretty manageable, and the team will probably get better and better as they get more experience and as the weeks go by. And you have some young players like Jermaine Matthews Jr. and Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Caden McDonald and others who I think will step up and be really good players next year. So if you're a Buckeye fan, enjoy your title. Revel in it, because you're going to be the defending national champions for the next whole year. No one can take that away from you. No one. Not one bit. If you're Ryan Day, this is a conversation for another video, but I'm going to say it here. You are now in the Urban Meyer Jim Tressel tier. There is an argument that you are better than either of them because of where the program is right now, to where the trajectory of the program is as good as it's ever been, to be frank. You're in that conversation. You are in that Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel conversation. Only you, Dabo Swinney, and Kirby Smart are active coaches with national championships. Only you. And Swinney's last one was over half a decade ago. So really, if you factor in recency bias, the only teams who have coached current active players to win it all, so that have only won national titles in recent memory, are Kirby Smart and Ryan Day, who I think unanimously are the top 2 coaches in the sport. So revel in that if you're a Buckeye fan. And it's objective. I mean, I'm not a Buckeye fan, but I'm telling you what's objective. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. Ryan Day's up there. He's an elite head coach. He is. And I think Marcus Freeman could follow in those footsteps too. Was this year ultimately the year? No, but in large part, some of that can be explained by the fact that Ohio State was in year 6 and Notre Dame was in year 3. Like, that literally could be the reason why Notre Dame didn't win tonight in the grand scheme of things. So congratulations to Ohio State, and for Notre Dame, well-fought season. Both of these teams finished 14-2, by the way. Ohio State finished 7-2 in the Big Ten. Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. They're independent. Their only losses were to Ohio State and NIU. Ohio State's only losses were to Michigan and Oregon. I cannot wait to talk about 2025. These two teams will be top 5 entering the 2025 season. So that I say, go Fighting Irish and go Buckeyes. And for the Ohio State fans who love my channel, and I love you all because you've been a big part of the reason why I get to cover this sport and also why I've gotten through college debt-free so far, OHIO. I will see you guys very soon, and good luck in 2025. Never let go of that memory of winning the national championship. that will stay with you for years. It's precious. It's awesome. Never, ever forget it. What an incredible moment for Ryan Day, his family, and for Buckeye Nation. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that way you can get notified when new content from College Football with Sam drops. I appreciate you very much, and also share the video around to others who you know enjoy the sport of college football and love it as I do and as you do, and comment your thoughts down below so that we can have a conversation, because I want to know what you are thinking. And join our Discord server where we talk college football 24/7 via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. Thank you to my Heisman Patreon members, Crash2488, Brasco Rascal, and Kylo OH. Thank you to my All-American Patreon members, Chris Lane, Ismar, and Tyler Nye. And thank you to my All-Conference members, John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, Joshua Jorgensen, and Will Loftus. Make sure to check out my merchandise store and or Patreon page, or super chat down in the comment section below to support the channel. The Patreon page and merchandise store links are in the description or down below in the pinned comment. I hope you have a wonderful day. It is December, so Merry Christmas and also Happy New Year. I will see you guys soon.